Hi folks, one more video today. I gotta get this done because I'm moving forward, I think. Anyway, 4:30, August 17th, Saturday, 78 degrees. And once again, without the sun on my solar collector, my batteries are not fully charged. Okay, we talked about all the junk I bought. Let's get over to Mr. China Quad. In the last video, I mentioned I bought new spark plugs for this thing. I just, bike doesn't start. You look at the spark plug, it's the original equipment spark plug that was in the bike when it was bought, before it was beat to death. So you say to yourself, well, maybe the spark plug's no good and I'm just wasting a bunch of time. So what I did was I replaced the spark plug. I mentioned NDK. I mentioned that I thought they were even cheaper than the Torch ones. So I changed the plug, tried it, nothing. I checked the spark, nothing. I took the plug out and grabbed the plug and turned it over, and still nothing. And I didn't get electrocuted. So I mean, I got no spark. I got nothing going on here. Zero going on. So with that, now I'm looking the bike over, and I'm looking over the ignition coil particularly. I don't know how well we can see this. I think you can see that, right? And like our good friend Pisser says, rust. I mean, you can see the input wire here. Where's my hand? There you go. Down there by my hand. I think you can see it. There's the input wire. But you can see how rusty all this is. And it's just a mess. So I gotta spend a few more minutes with that. I was also looking at this wiring harness. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to look at this wire harness. And when the thing doesn't start, one should not be sitting here going, oh, why won't it start? One should be saying to themselves, you moron, having a wire harness like that, you're lucky it does anything at all. So, anyway, oh, by the way, just quickly, the spark plugs were about $4 each. I bought 4 of them. Here's where I bought them from. So they were about $2 each, and then $9.15 shipping. So it was $19 for 4 spark plugs. So just under $4 each. $3.75, $3.80, whatever that comes out to. You guys who can do math really quick in your heads, go for it. All right. So have no spark. I don't seem to have anything. Not getting much of anything. With that, I took a minute and I drew out a wiring diagram. And basically, when you look at these things, they're the simplest thing in the world. You have a flywheel, and your flywheel creates power with the coil. I mean, it would be this coil if it was a Honda, right? Flywheel spins around, creates power here. So, this coil is grounded, power comes out and goes to a CDI unit. That's simple. Then you have a trigger. For the Hondas, there's no trigger under the flywheel. The trigger is on the side of the engine, the far side of the engine. If you went to the other side of the engine, that's where the trigger is. A wire comes out. That's the trigger. And the last input, the last input into a CDI unit is ground. So CDI unit, basically 3 wires going in, 1 wire coming out. The 1 wire coming out goes to the spark coil. The other input to the spark coil is ground, right? Spark coil has 2 things coming out. The high voltage, which goes to the spark plug, and the other input to the spark plug is ground, so to speak. So this is what there is. This is all there is. Should be very, very simple. So far, I've changed the spark plug. I've changed the CDI. What's left? The spark coil, obviously the stator and the trigger. Oh, and the wiring harness. What I'm going to do tomorrow, I think I'll get to it tomorrow, hopefully I'll be awake enough after the flea market and everything, is I want to go through the wire harness. I mean, look at that wire harness. It is just a wreck. I want to go through that wire harness and get rid of all the spare wires. And more than anything else, because I've been screwed by this before, I want to get the grounds hooked up properly. I mean, look at these grounds. Green is ground right there. There. You got wires hanging, right? So I want to get rid of all the extra wires. For the time being with this bike, I'm going to disconnect all the turn-off switches, all the safety switches, the switch that prevents you from starting unless you're in neutral. I don't know if that bike has reverse or not. I don't think it does. But the reverse safety switch, though it might have reverse, because I think that wire, I think, is for a reverse safety switch, not a neutral. Anyway, however it goes, I'm going to go through the wiring harness and I'm getting rid of all the extra crap. Theoretically, if you go through the bike, once again, to the CDI unit, I should only see 4 wires, 3 inputs, ground, trigger, power, and 1 output. The low voltage that goes into the spark coil. To the spark coil, I got to clean that all up. Once again, I got to make sure the ground's good. I got to make sure this wire is continuous and solid and good and not leaking to ground. High voltage, as I was fooling around, there was some water that I found on this wire and all, but I got to make sure that's all clean, that I got nothing going on. And there's a little test you can do. You can take a 9-volt battery and kind of, you know, pretend that you're a set of points and go 9-volt hot and cold, to go hot and cold on the actually hook the 9-volt battery, the negative of the high volt battery to negative, the positive to that, and then take a clip and just tap it to ground, so like shorten the 9-volt battery like points would do, and you should see a spark jump out of this. So that gives me the ability to new plug. If I can test this and I know this is good, that puts me in this area. I could do a couple of readings, compare them to Honda readings, because I haven't found anywhere on the internet what these numbers really should be. Compare them to Honda readings and make a decision. I want to get to the point with that China quad where it stays or it goes. I either fix it, or I part it out, or I bury it in the hoard, whatever, but I don't want it to be burning any more of my time. Same with these units. I want to finish these up because I really want to create a shop type situation here, a functional garage situation here. I want to get a workbench, someplace that I can work on a motor, right height so I'm not bending over, hurting my back, having the tools all set up, perhaps on magnetic rail so I can just put these things right back up on a magnetic rail and not have to worry about it. You know, I want to get this little area functional. This cart, though I was really pleased when I got my hot little hands on it, it was a freebie roadside. It just it just didn't work out. It became a gigantic crap collector. This rolling workbox, really nice rolling workbox, but when I put all this stuff on the top of it, I can't get the drawers open unless I leave them partially opened, right? Because the pin locks them shut. So this, and once again, it's another collector of crap. I'd like to have this so it rolls under a bench over there. I'd like all the tires out of there and just have a functional wall so that when I roll something in, one thing in, have it a little ways from the wall and all my tools are right there, and if I take an assembly off I can put it there, perhaps put lights on it. I have those LED strip lights. Get that all set up as a functional area, and then gradually work my way through. I got to get that Cushman. I did have it running at one point, but that's been a couple of years now. Actually, I drove it up here when I finished the garage, and it kind of got inside, and once it got inside, it never moved again. I need to get that Cushman functioning, and once I do that, should I need more space, start the Cushman, drive it out, right? Just open the door, drive it out. Now I have more space to work. That's where I need to get with this place, and I need to get some of these projects completed to do that. That way I can put them away. I also have an interesting idea for some tarp buildings, and just to give you guys a little foreshadowing, a little pre-thought. I've run across something known as cattle fencing. And cattle fencing, you can bend into nice arcs, either a semicircle or a half circle or even a quarter circle. So I saw that and I thought to myself, God, they're about $20 a panel. A panel is 4 foot by 16 foot. It's 50 inches by 16 foot. But let's call it 4 foot by 16 foot, which means 3 of those panels, which is $60, basically creates a roof structure for a hoop building. So for not much money, right, you can build a little plywood platform, put your little hoop over it, reinforce both ends perhaps with plywood doors, and but basically for the basic structure, use the hoop and a tarp. And now you have yourself a little hoop building that you can put your toys in. You're looking at, for a 8 by 12 building, you would look at 3 of those. So once again, 8 by 12, you would use 3 of those cattle fences, which is $60. You would use a tarp, which is like another $20, so $80. 3 pieces of plywood for the floor at $20 each is another $60, and 80 is $140. And then the pressure treated, if you're doing a pressure treated base, right, and all, I mean, probably for a couple $100 you can have yourself a 8 by 12 hoop shed. Permanent? No. You got to change the tarp probably every couple of years, 3 years or so. But it'd be a good way to put something up temporarily or quasi-permanent, whatever, to kind of get this stuff out of the way and have it under cover whilst I move forward with these toys, and maybe even some of those buildings for these toys. Anyway, enough rambling, enough silliness for now. I got to get moving. Guys, live, love, and have a great time. We'll catch you on the next episode of The Horde. Till then, remember, tires down, handlebars up, and try to keep your toys out of the rain. Thanks for watching, commenting, and subscribing.